You know, the motherboard really is the backbone of a PC, and the type and model of motherboard that you choose can have a profound impact on your system, and oftentimes determines exactly which components you are able to use. But what should you look for when picking out a new one, and how do you find that information? Let's explore that and more as we learn about choosing the right motherboard. Now, real quick, I don't know if you remember back during the chapter on CPUs, we learned that a CPU can be called a central processing unit and all sorts of other names. The same thing rings true for motherboards. So as you research your options and you go out there online, you may hear them referred to as main boards or system boards or backplane boards or really my personal favorite, the MOBO. And you'll notice this happens with many things in the IT industry. But as we encounter those, I'll do my best to point them out to you. So first of all, let's go ahead and figure out what type of usage do we need out of this motherboard. Are we trying to do something simple, like a desktop build or a laptop build? Or do we need something that has that multi-socket capability, such as a server? Right? The ability to have multiple processors physically installed on the motherboard itself. But for purposes of this demonstration, we're going to do something simple. We're going to do a nice gaming build. We're going to continue on with what we started with the CPU, and let's go back into PC Part Picker. So the great thing here about PC Part Picker, I know we demonstrated earlier to make sure to save this URL, but over here, as we go along, there's two things I want you to take notice of. One is the compatibility. Second is the estimated wattage. These are really cool features that as we start choosing PSUs and actually start completing our system, this is going to give us a very good indicator if we have enough power to meet the needs of this equipment. Also, the great thing about PC Part Picker is it actually chooses your options for you. And what I mean by that is, since we've already chosen the Intel Core i9 CPU, PC Parts Picker already knows that only show us motherboards that have LGA slots, right? That LAN grid array. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. And I take a look, I see all the information is beautifully organized for me to make a decision. Now, couple things I need to decide on. We've already got the CPU, which kind of helped define which motherboards we're able to choose, but what about form factors? You know, we talked about there's various sizes, like we could have a full-size ATX or a slightly smaller micro ATX or even a mini ITX board and run it through. And you can actually just sort that right here on PC Parts Picker. I'm going to search for an ATX board simply because I like full-size systems. Now, once we've chosen a board, and this one has pretty good ratings, it has everything I need, I think, let me go ahead and verify. And I can click on that link, go in here, and if I look down, scroll down here on PC Part Picker, I can see literally every bit of information about this motherboard. I can see the part numbers that come out of it. I can see the exact socket size. Here's that LGA. I can see the chipset, the maximum amount of memory it supports, all sorts of stuff. So what you're gonna need to do is just really figure out, hey, what's the maximum RAM capacity I need? You know, do I need a certain amount of expansion ports? Do I need the motherboard to have built-in Wi-Fi? Lots of little considerations there. And last but not least is, you know, what Mike calls because it's cool. We need to decide, hey, is this going to meet the aesthetic value of our build, right? That earlier build we showed you with all the LEDs and the lights and the red cables, that has a very positive and very beautiful aesthetic feel. Some people care about that, some might not, but that's another consideration that you need to have. Are you going to choose plain green PCB? Are you going to go with something dark and mysterious? Or maybe something like this with all these silver and white shrouds? Do you want LEDs? These are all things to consider. And PC Parts Picker makes it absolutely easy for you to figure out the ideal motherboard for your new system.